Live with me, Charlie Peters and Olivia Utley, and we're joined in the studio to go through today's top story by Judita De Silva and Candice Holdsworth. Olivia, where are we starting today?
Well, on the face of it, Candice, I'm going to start with you. This seems like a pretty astonishing story. Contractor GPs working for the Home Office have been offered £135,000 a year. That's more than an average GP in the NHS works, in order to provide first-class treatment for illegal migrants. So essentially, illegal migrants going right to the front of the queue on healthcare.
Yeah, so I think that is exactly the perception that's going to be created, and it's something I'm hearing more and more from people in ordinary life. A, they're talking about the preferential treatment, so they're getting ready access to GPs, which most people do not get. And B, it's the cost of the asylum system. I mean, getting paid nearly double what you get paid in the NHS to work in these deportation centres, that is going to cost an absolute fortune. I think there's been a blurring, within the British state of what should be prioritised, and I think it is completely logical and common sense to say that British citizens should get priority over non-citizens. I'm not saying that people shouldn't get healthcare, absolutely, but it shouldn't cost this much.
Hello, I'm Bev Turner. Now, it can feel like the money in our bank accounts at the moment does not keep up with the cost of living, and maybe there's a solution. I'm here today with the CEO of TallyMoney, Cameron Parry. Cameron, what is TallyMoney?
Well, Bev, with TallyMoney, you get a current account and a debit card, but instead of pounds, you use milligrams of gold as your everyday money.
So why gold?
Gold traditionally is a great store of value. It has, on average, gone up at over 11% per annum for the last 25 years against the pound. It's tripled in value in the last decade. And in the last 2 years alone, it's increased by 50% against the pound. Banks' savings products just can't compete with that level of growth.
But this isn't just about gold. This is about a currency that you guys have created at TallyMoney. Explain it to me as though I'm an idiot.
So, look, people need to be able to hold their earnings and build their savings in a money that retains its value and remains in their legal control and remains theirs to access, away from government control.
Great. You had me at not exposed to government control.
You should feel safe and happy with your money. You should have peace of mind the more money you see in your bank balance, and that's the type of thing we're trying to deliver and give people choice in the type of money they get to use every day.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Cameron. Thank you.
Judita, Chris Philp, the Shadow Home Secretary, has said that this is a disgrace. The government has given the red carpet treatment to illegal migrants. I imagine you take a different view.
I do. I mean, because that's kind of an evocative spin on the situation. Just look at the practicalities of it. Even if there's always the worry about the harm that these migrants could cause. People who actually do cause harm, criminals in prison, get healthcare, they get food, they get shelter. If you've got a concentration of people you don't know what kind of ill health they could be in, they do require medical treatment. At a rudimentary humane level, you provide them with such. Where is the medical treatment going to come from? The NHS is already on its knees and underserviced. You can't start siphoning off NHS doctors, so you have to get private contractors. Now, when you're looking at the actual wages that they're getting, where they're saying it's around £520 a day, private care, for 15 minutes for initial consultation with a doctor on Basil Street or Harley Street, it starts at around £300. So it's nowhere near that. These are private contractors. They're going to be, it has to be something that's financially viable for them to do. So this is normally what the going market rate would be for them, and that's the only place you can get the doctors from. So then saying that it's the red carpet treatment, first of all, you do a disservice to the NHS doctors. They get the same training, the same education. They are all exceptional doctors.
It's the red carpet treatment to the migrants, not to the doctors, though,
that
right?
idea of like red carpet, these are doctors, they're qualified, they've studied, they've got the same training.
Right,
what is
the
red
access.
carpet illusion?
Access, not about the training. It's about how they're approaching it.
The impression you're given by saying red carpet is that those on the NHS have something less. No, the doctors are great across the board. They have the same training.
It's not about the quality of the training. It's about how easy it comes to getting them, Judita. I think you're missing the point that Chris was making.
That's why I made the comparison to prisons, because if you have them in a detention centre, people will get ill. They're just human beings, they get ill. They need treatment. Where is the treatment going to come from? If you got them from the NHS, same as everyone else, that would be a problem because the NHS is already there's over demand. So you have to get them as private contractors, and those contractors have to be paid.
But Candice, and I want to ask you too about this, Judita, isn't there a risk that if you are ill in another country, you're not able in your country for whatever reason to get the healthcare that you want, it is a draw. You could come to the UK because because you can see these adverts on these websites and you can see that they are advertising for first-class doctors to work in these detention centres. Why not go to a detention centre and then you have the very real prospect of getting into the black economy afterwards?
There's huge pull factors, and I think it's something we haven't been able to deal with in this country. There are just enormous amounts of people in the asylum system that we have to cater for because we just have not been able to get on top of it. I know Shabana Mahmood's bringing in these reforms. There's a lot of high hopes. I'm very sceptical about it. I just feel like this country isn't tough enough. If we look at successful models like Australia and the US, who've been able to drastically reduce the number of people claiming asylum and being successful, that's where we have to go. And until that's sorted, I think people are going to continually be angry about this.
Chitita, I think you've got a point about access and how the care has to be provided. But I think it's so difficult for the government to have these sorts of scenarios when the care across the country is so poor. The main feeling people have, and Candice has alluded to it just there, is that sense of unfairness, right? Perhaps the solution here is to find a way to give this level of care for people across the country.
I mean, you would want to do that, but then you then delve into the other stories you're covering about where is the manpower, because at the end of the day, for the amount of care that is required to the number of people that's required, where are the doctors? Where are they going to come from? Who can actually afford to pay them when you've got an economy that's on its knees? But at the same time, yes, within the detention centres, I don't think anyone is going to find it attractive to live in a detention centre. So the fact that they're saying that they've created this detention centres to say that you're not just going to get a free ride into the country, we're processing you here to send you back. But if you fall ill, should they just fester in ill health, or should they get a doctor? They need a doctor.
I mean, processing to send them back, I'll believe that when I see it. Very, very different other story.
Well, let's get a statement first from the Home Office. The spokesman said that the Home Office does not directly fund these roles. We are making sweeping reforms to tackle illegal migration, which will make Britain a less attractive destination for illegal migrants. And they say this will allow them to deport people more easily. But let's move on to the next one, sorry.
Yes. Rachel Johnson, the journalist and sister of former Prime Minister Boris Johnson, says she was barred from competing in Strictly Come Dancing whilst her brother was in frontline politics.
She said that she had been asked to compete, but the BBC stopped her. She didn't pass the broadcaster's compliance. Candice, what do you make of this? Is this another example of a bit of Boris bashing from the BBC, them being more hesitant to engage with right-leaning figures, even by association in the case of Rachel Johnson?
Maybe. I think that, yeah, it was a bit of overcautiousness. I mean, I don't think it would have made any difference at all if Rachel Johnson had appeared on Strictly Come Dancing. I do think, though, that when they do try to bring people from the right side of the spectrum, there is sometimes a bit of a backlash against them. The audience doesn't always like it. Like, I think they thought they were taking a bit of a risk with someone like Tom Skinner, and it ended very, very badly. Although maybe Rachel Johnson is more of a centrist figure and wouldn't promote the same sort of backlash.
Do you think that Rachel Johnson was treated differently from a brother or sister, say, of a left-wing leader?
I don't know, because I'm kind of in two minds about this, because if you think about it for anywhere else, if you have a family member in frontline politics, it's a security issue. You kind of get the come to Jesus talk within the family that there's certain things you can't do now while I'm in frontline politics, even though you want to, and everybody has to regulate. That could be part of the motivation behind it, that do we want the Prime Minister's sister on a show that you've got the public watching it, you've got people voting, they've got to deal with the opinions of people, let's just avoid the drama. But then also I do think that, yeah, it's kind of, she is a problematic contestant to have for the BBC that's constantly juggling with the opinions of the public.
How is it problematic to have the sister appear?
When you just want a family show where people wear sparkly costumes and dance, having to deal with political opinion in that sphere can be exhausting.
But I don't feel as though they do offer political opinion, the contestants on the show.
It's
right?
the public, because inevitably that will fuel voting and what people say about the contestants and the parasocial activity that happens around a popular show like Strictly.
We did have Ed Balls, though, didn't we?
Yeah, look at what happened. Every time they've come on and look at what's gone on, but they've got the kind of personalities where you're already a politician, you're used to dealing with people that have a negative backlash. She's the sister of...
Have you met Rachel Johnson? She's got quite a personality. She's also got a media show in her own right. She's a pretty impressive figure.
So it's understandable that they've tried it before, they've seen what's happened, and sometimes you might say that this is the level of a Boris Johnson, which is credit to him, is far outweighs an Anne Widdecombe or an Ed Balls. So thinking about his sister would be a different juggernaut to deal with.
Last word to you, Candice. Do you think that the BBC is too cautious these days?
I do. I think they need to take more risks. I feel like people are in real silos now. The amount of people I speak to who say they never watch the BBC or they never watch Channel 4. And we used to have these shared experiences when I was a child, a Saturday night shared experience. And there's less and less of that now.
Yeah.
Well, thank you to Judita and Candice.